Greetings, my dear viewers. It is I, Drihon, back once again with another Dungeons & Dragons character concept, where we take a look at the different races within Dungeons & Dragons and see what characters we could make using only the lore of that race. And today we are looking at the Vedalken, part of the Guildmaster's Guide to Ravnica series. This race can be prominently seen in my optimized series as the main race for those builds. But what if you were tired of optimization and just wanted to play the Vedalken as a race? Well, let's go ahead and see what exactly we have. To start things off, the Vedalken are primarily seen in Ravnica as a part of either the Simic Combine or the Azorius Senate. Yes, that was Senate. The Simics are all about altering life, while the Azorius maintain law and create law. So, let's go ahead and take a more in-depth look at these Vedalken. Vedalken are known to, well, improve themselves and others, because no one's perfect. And that is fine by them, because that means they have lots of room to improve in many different aspects. So, with that being said, as far as backgrounds go, the Cloistered Scholar, the Courtier, Faction Agent, Guild Artisan, Guild Merchant, Harbor Folk, Investigator, Knight of the Order, and Sage would be absolutely perfect. Of course, without going into specifics like the Simic Combine and the Azorius Senate. Vedalken from the Simic Combine would actually make for decent Harbor Folk, because the Simic Combine was built on top of the old oceans of Ravnica. So it kind of made sense for that to be picked. As far as classes go, your most common classes for a Vedalken will most likely be the Artificer and Wizard, with some exceptions being Sorcerers and Clerics from the Azorius Senate, being enforcers of law. Now let's go ahead and take a deeper dive into each of the classes and see just which subclasses will best fit a Vedalken. Starting things off with the Artificer, remember they are wanting to improve on themselves. So Artificers such as the Maverick from Exploring Eberron and Master Maker from Dread Metro would actually be appropriate. Supplements that I do find core, as they were made by Keith Baker. But anyway, that's not entirely the point. Both the Master Maker and the Maverick do focus on improving themselves, as well as implementing a bunch of different experiments with technology. And while some might disagree with me on these being quote-unquote core materials, the Armorer and Artillerist are good secondary specialists for an Artificer for a Vedalken, as there have been a couple of cards where a Vedalken does wear specialized armor or is using specialized weaponry. Moving on to the Barbarian. This one is going to be less likely, but a Barbarian does seem to fit when you consider the Primal Path of the Beast and Primal Path of the Depths. Primal Path of the Depths can be found in the partner supplement, Dark Tides of Bilgewater, Legends of Runeterra. And this is because of a race that we've already covered on this channel, the Simic Hybrid, which are either humans, elves, or Vedalken. So it makes somewhat sense to have a Vedalken kind of be in between its normal race and the Simic hybrid by having either the Beast or the Depths Barbarian as its subclass. Moving on to Bard. Now, this one was tricky, as I wasn't sure this would work, as there's not really much that would tie a Vedalken to a Bard other than the jack-of-all-trades, being able to improve on yourself and your skills. Kind of made sense for a Bard Vedalken, but not entirely, as there aren't that many subclasses that would work. Though I do see the Bardic College of Creation and Lore, as well as the Dirge Singer, which is also from Exploring Eberron. Moving on to Cleric. This is going to be more for your Azorius Senate, but the Nature Domain Cleric could fit with a Simic Combine Vedalken. But as far as the Azorius Senate goes, Knowledge and Order are going to be your best bet. Though Knowledge could fit either way, going Simic Combine or the Azorius Senate, or just a Vedalken in general, since they want to learn more about themselves. Next is Druid. This is more of a reference to the Biomancers. And, well, I would say that the Shepherd and the Land Circles would be the most obvious ones to choose, but as well as the Moon Circles because of the Flux Charges, which are an elemental within Ravnica. Though I don't see it that much because they are in fact a level 7, so there's probably little chance of a Druid going into that elemental. Then we have the Circle of the Forge, which I could see if you squint at it, but it's still something to consider. Once again, the Forge Cleric comes from Exploring Eberron. Next is the Monk, and this is very interesting because, like we've stated, the Vedalken seek to improve themselves, not just physically or mentally, but spiritually. So a monk Vedalken does make some sense. I would say that the Astral Self, Cobalt Soul, and the 4 Elements would be your best options for a Vedalken monk. Moving on to Ranger. The most common ones, of course, will be the Beastmaster and the Drake Warden. Though I could see an argument for some of the other conclaves, these two are probably going to be the most viable for the lore of the Vedalken as far as a Simic Combine goes. Though I can see the Drake Warden being for the Azorius Senate, since some of them do have mounts. Griffin mounts, yes, but I don't see why a Drake wouldn't be possible. Moving on to the Rogue. This one is another one that probably is less likely, but with the Izzet League, there are some Vedalkens there that seek to invent new ways to improve themselves, like we have witnessed with the Artificers. But there is also the Inquisitive and Mastermind, which could be from other guilds, which we have seen with some of these races in Ravnica. But the Inquisitive and Masterminds do make for good Vedalkens, in my opinion. Moving on to the Sorcerer. This one's going to be a little bit interesting. I wouldn't say there would be a lot of sorcerers, but there would probably be enough to take note. As far as origins go, the Draconic Bloodline, Runechild, Sea Sorcery from the Unearthed Arcana, and finally the Storm Sorcery would probably be the most common among Vedalken sorcerers. Now, I put Draconic Bloodline in here strictly for the Izzet League's Guild Master, Mizet, who is a dragon. And he believes that experiments are encourageable, especially some strange experiments. So it would stand to reason that Nizmazet would say, yeah, sure, you can use some of my blood or some other dragon blood. Go ahead, experiment with it. It just seems something you would do. Next is Warlock. This will probably be the least likely of classes to pick from under Barbarian. But if you were to have a Vedalken that had a Warlock patron, either the Fathomless or the Kraken would make the least most sense. Not much to talk about on that front. And finally, we have our Wizards, which are probably going to be the most common, though I would say the Order of Scribes and Transmutation Wizards would be the ones that you would pick most often. Transmutation, of course, being that biomancer, tinkering with the forces of life, with Order of the Scribes, of course, keeping track of the different laws and rewriting them to suit your purposes. Other arcane traditions that are possible would be the Artificer, Invention, and Technomancy from the different Unearthed Arcana. That's right, there was a wizard subclass known as the Artificer from Unearthed Arcana. I believe it was number 1, if memory serves, with Invention and Technomancy following shortly after. So, what did you all think? Did you enjoy this video? What type of Vedalkens would you like to create? Let me know down in the comment section below on any that you have in mind or have already played. Until next time, this has been Drehan, and I'll see you next time with a new video. Till then, I am offline.